Hi guys, it's EGC here. So today I'm here with another decent deck profile, and this time I will be covering Almajestar Astroea Unica. So I'll just call her Unica from now on. So this is the new Dark States red line that we have for from DBT09, and introducing another way of playing with our souls, which is depending on the critical triggers that you bind, you gain different effects. So let's quickly talk about her first before we talk about the right line and such. So you have two skill. The first skill is when you use skill to Soul Blast trigger units, then you can choose one of your unit for a turn plus 5k. The more you Soul Blast, you just give more power to herself or any other regards you want to be. And then when this card attacks the Vanguard, that's where you basically Soul Blast, usually Soul Blast free, and then you bind all the critical triggers that you Soul Blast with this cost, and then you count the total number of critical triggers in your bind zone. So like if you Soul Blast 2 last turn, Soul Blast 1 this turn, they will be a total of 3, and then you apply the following effects. If you bind one critical trigger or more, you retire one of your opponent regards. If two or more, during the battle it gets one crit, and three or more, you get one drive. So if you Soul Blast a total of 3 critical triggers, you basically every single time you attack with this card to your opponent's Vanguard, you can retire one, gain one crit, gain one drive, right? So the target of this deck is to try Soul Blast 3 critical triggers and bind them all as soon as possible, so that you can keep doing the same thing every single turn. But sadly, so far, you don't get to multiple attacking with this deck yet. Maybe there are some hidden attacks later, or maybe that's something that other people know, but so far I don't see any. So we are doing a 3-punch deck compared to other Dark States decks that usually do more than 3. So that's one of our weak point, but it's a very aggro facing deck, and it's a deck that requires to actually act very fast, because this deck, not only it runs out of gas so easily, this deck is so fragile. You basically have no guards, basically, at least based on the experience that I play. And if you are on a very bad luck that you don't see your critical triggers at all, you just lose. Yeah, that's no doubt, you will lose. So it's a very YOLO aggro gamble deck, but when you pull it off, it can be very scary. Now let's talk about the right lines. So it's basically her own right line, where you use your Almajestar, right? So you have your grade 1, you have grade 2, grade 0 doesn't matter. Grade 1, when your grade 2 right on top, you get a soul charge 2. If you soul charge a critical trigger, you draw one card. So far, based on at least 5 plus playtests that I did, I never soul charge a critical trigger. So the draw one, I don't see that a thing, but it's a good to have. Maybe you are lucky that you can soul charge a critical trigger and draw one. Even I play A, I still don't get it, but that's my luck basically. And the grade 2, if the grade 3 right on tops, then you can pull one of each grade 2 and grade 1 and call it a regular circle. So you basically not only soul charging cards that you need to Soul Blast for, you get these two to help you out to do a lot more things. The grade 2 have an active skill. By counterblasting 1, you can put 2 trigger units from your drop zone to your soul, and then plus 5k. This, you can, once per turn, active skill regular circle, you can bind a trigger unit from your soul to get this card plus 10k. So usually I use this effect every single turn. Unless I do personal right, then maybe I can consider not, because I do want to apply her pressure as high as possible. If we are only doing 3 attacks, we need to make every single punch scary. That's what I think. So that's why I go for that, and usually put her behind the Vanguard circle to actually boost that attack. But if you prefer to put her on the side, that's totally fine. But basically that's the right line with this deck, and so far I don't see there is a need to change, because this right line basically says what this deck is lacking, which is basically your regards and also your souls. I don't care about a draw because I never draw one, so it's not something that I hope for, but it's something that is good to have, right? And next, of course, we need personal ride, because that is basically something that saves our lives, and also increasing the soul, because this deck you soul blast so much, and you do need to find a ways to keep soul charging a lot in order to sustain this kind of keep doing soul blasting. So you can't use your great one that much, because if you soul blast all your trigger units to your bind zone, you get nothing to keep putting back to your deck. So do be careful on the great one, but if you manage carefully, you should be able to soul blast 3 and then put at least 2 trigger back, and then try to soul charge another card. Then you will be able to do it again. Or you soul charge 2 cards that is trigger, and then do a personal ride, at least you have 3, right? So so far it's still sustainable, but you do need to be very careful on how much you soul blast every single turn, and how many cards they can actually get back to the soul. Now next, another key card, which is Kid's Peak Griffin. So this is the key support that we have for the deck, that when this card appears on Rega Circle, if you have basically your queens, and you can put 2 trigger units from your drop zone put into your soul. So again, this is basically like a grade 2, but now you just play it to the Rega Circle and you can do that, and it's not a from hand skill, so as long as you can superior call it, you can still get the effects off, right? Which is very great. And as long as you have critical triggers in your bind zone, this card will get plus 5k, plus 5k shield, and will be effective during your opponent's turn. So it will be a forever 15k, not easy to kill, and a good shield value, that is a 10k shield, because we are always lacking shield value, we are lacking hand size, so this is a very valuable card for us to use in this deck. And then for the money card, Clean Sweep Dragon. So this is a card that as long as you personal ride in dark states, you can just chuck this card in, unless you're playing the new boost that requires you to basically run every single Diablo deck cards in your deck that is not trigger, and of course trigger, if you have, you probably will put it in as well. But other than that, as long as you do personal ride, this card will just save you, because during the turn, if you personal ride, you can counter blast 1. It's an active skill, it's not an on play skill. By doing so, you can choose up to 3 cards regards from your opponents and yourself, and put them all into soul. For each card that you selected, not cards that put into the soul, you get plus 5k, right? So that is a good board wipe. You can just choose 3 of your opponent's regards, put them into the soul, and you get plus 15k. You can put something that you want to put, and you also get the 5k plus, right? So it doesn't matter. It helps you clean the field, it helps you get the extra soul you need for your Unica, and it also becomes a 25k beater. So as long as you do personal ride, that is a 35k guarantee. That is quite scary, and that's why this card is so expensive, because it can fit so many decks as long as you do personal ride. And it's a card that is so generic they can save a lot of decks. Even with greed on, right? You can still chuck in the cards that you need, or again do the kind of board wipe to make sure your opponent's having a hard game. Against Rorowa, you can just clean that plant tokens, because as long as you select them, those cards don't need to go into soul. You still get the power and they will just be gone, right? And there's a lot of things that you can just get clean by this card. And as a generic personalized support, this card is probably the best card you can get from the set. So that explains why it's so expensive, and I'm so happy to just get a Dark States playset for a rather cheap price. But this card is just so amazing. And again, it is an active skill, so as long as you keep personalizing every single turn, and this card stays on the field using a Counterblast, you wipe free. Plus 15k. A stable 35k beater, what else should you ask for, right? So that's all I need to say. That's all I will say about this card, I guess. And then I'm using 2 more Dyna, just in case. Before, I'm using one of the grade 3 magical thing, and then 4 of the grade 2 manticle. And now I'm actually cutting one and one of the grade 3, because the grade 3 I don't see myself having any chances to use. And then I put in 2 Dyna, because I find Dyna quite useful for keep recycling cards from the drop zone to my soul. And because before I only used one from the right deck, if she get attacks, I kind of need to protect her, but now if I put 2, I don't need to worry that much. And then the Manticore is your 20k beater. As long as you have 2 critical triggers bind, or basically triggers that is being bind 2+, then you can get plus 10k. So it's a quite easy attack game to make sure your side being scary as well. As long as you have these 2, you basically are safe. And then you use this card to be shield, and sometimes you just put it out to put 2 cards if you need to, but you have Dyna to help you out. So unless you run out of Counterblast, then you might need to actually play this card on field. But yeah, you get your choices, and you know what I mean. And then 3 of the Gungaram. Unfortunately, I only have 3. If I have 4, I probably would go for 4. That I will cut something off from my great ones. But so far 3 is also fine, because the main uses is the soul charge 1. If I really have that much soul that I can't use, then I can soul rush 3 to draw 1. But usually use it once or twice max. But it's a good generic card, and like Bobo that this kind of generic support can still live until now is very valuable, very happy thing to see. Hopefully I can find the 4th one so I can put it in as soon as possible. But so far 3 is okay. And then 3 of the Iron Capricornus. So it's a sheep that when boost, and if you have a Almajestar Vanguard, then you can put a trigger unit from your hand or drop to your soul. If you put one from your hand, you get to draw 1. So worst case, you get to switch a card from your hand for another card, but usually you just put cards from your drop zone to your soul, because you will be soul blasting them, so you can immediately recycle. And then 2 of the Dragon Tree Wretch, Demon's Rider. So this card is the Dragon Tree support, but I do see value in it. That kind of like Gungaram, but Gungaram is you soul rush 3 to draw 1. This one is if you have good attackers, you can soul blast 2 cards to bring that card back out to help you out, right? So it could be your Gungram, it could be this, it could be a lot of things. Because I sometimes just soul charge some key cards that I want to use, so I'm using this card as a backup plan to get myself those units out. I won't be creating any Dragon Tree marker at all, so don't need to worry about the counter loss cost of this card. But do remember, kind of like Gungram, that you can't spam this skill. So I'm only running two to as a toolbox, that if I need something from Soul, I have it. And then I'm running 2 of the ring, so if you actually have a 4th Gungram, you can switch this to that, and then if you do so, then you can probably add another Capricornus, right? So it's quite stable, that you don't need to think about too much, or even you can add in a 4th Manic Core if you want to. But Rain is here to help me increase the chances to soul charge what I'm aiming for, usually the crits, or some attackers that I can actually pull out by this guy, because I do kind of need some soul charging, and without extra Gungram, this one at least gives me a choice by looking at top 2 to put one in soul and put one to the bottom of my deck, right? So I can still kind of avoid the worst. Even if I see 2 triggers, I can still get the pick. If I can only soul charge one, and if I just soul charge my over trigger, then I can only laugh, right? But if I see 2, I see over trigger to the bottom, okay, if I see the over trigger, I at least put it to the bottom, and then just kind of find my way through it if I can. If I can't, then at least it stays there. But again, I have choices. And then 4 PGs. Okay, by the way, if you again have a 4th Gungram, another thing you can do is to add in here, and then to use one of the Holy Grail to increase your chances to personalize. That's also something that you can consider. So I just put it there. It's up to you to decide what you want to. I'm using limited resources to make this deck, so you can see my PGs like from the Chrono Jet deck as well, so I can just simply reuse them. I do have another set of PGs, but they are in my Bruce deck, so yeah. Or even when I do my Bruce deck profile, probably will be using the same lineup as well. But PGs is up to you, and if you want to use the order PG, feel free to do that too. Triggers. Dark States one, you can consider to use the generic one as well, because your Vanguard is already gaining a crit, so you, in a way, you just apply pressure with your Vanguard, force your opponents to guard, and then you plus 2 of the 100 millions to your side and hit your opponents hard. That's the way. But the reason I'm using this card is because there is a chance that when I gain crit, gain drive, I'm already hitting on 2 damage, I hit you for 3, I try to pull another crit trigger to hit you 4. That's kind of a way to pretend to be a critical trigger, not for being bind to pull off the effects, but actually kind of being a crit, right? So that's why I'm using the Dark States one more than the generic one, but the generic one will also work. So it's up to you that you want to put your pressure on your middle line, or you want to have a chance to put the pressure to your sidelines. That's up to you. But for me, I have a good taste of hitting my opponents 4 damage of it on a single turn, then I can't forget. Even without the over trigger, that is. And then we have our 8 beloved critical triggers, because we need to bind critical triggers for Unica to actually pull off. And then 3 draws, because I don't have the 10k draws. If you have them, definitely put them in. I don't have them, so I can't add it in. That's why. And then just 4 heals. You want to use any effect heals, feel free to put in, but this deck won't fight long, for sure. You try to aim to win in 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn max, and you're dead. This deck can't survive because even if you run front triggers, it's not going to save you because you don't have key parts to fight back. So I rather use the draw trigger, and with the Capricornus I can actually chuck the draw trigger in to soul and get another draw. So it's less of a very compared to the front trigger that I will just keep it in my hand as a Chronically Shield card, and I can't get to draw an extra card. And once I run out of stuff, I'm done. Yeah. So, it's a little bit long that I didn't expect, but this deck is kind of fun. But at the same time, it is a very good tester of your luck. When I play test on a day, I have basically the second worst bad luck of the day that I can ever imagine. I still put my 3 Redolina in damage zone and 1 being by as my worst one. But like with this deck, I have overall only bind 2 critical triggers, and I don't see anything on any of the critical trigger left. Probably 1 to 2 on my damage, and then when my deck 11 cards consists of like 6 to 7 triggers, and I drive check because I don't have 3 critical triggers bind. I can only do 3 drive, and I hit into nothing. So I've faced the worst luck with this deck, and I have faced the like most ideal luck with this deck, that I just swing for 4 damage for fun, and then just keep doing my thing and win. So I've tasted both, and I know this deck is kind of like that. Some people use other better supports, like the grade 3 from DBT 6 or 7 that also get the pops and other cards from your opponents if you Soul Blast enough. I am considering using that, but so far I just want to keep focusing on how to make the deck doing the stuff that it is supposed to do, and to sustain the cards that I can put back into my soul so that I can Soul Blast. So that's why I'm going for the current build. But again, with Gungaram, with the Holy Grail, if you have both, just chuck them in. You will have a kind of a more happy life, but no guarantees. No guarantees. Yeah, so I think that's it I need to tell for this deck profile. Give me a like if you like this deck profile. Subscribe to my channel for more deck profiles, unboxings, deck fights. Comments down below if you have any questions, any idea with the deck that you want to share. Comments down below, and we can discuss further in the comments down below. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.